Title: Christian the Fari. While there isn't a single Viking name that literally translates to quicker than the wind, the name captures the essence of speed and swiftness, which aligns with the idea of someone moving with the speed of the wind. Now over to The Rome of the Northmen, Chapter 1. The year was 874. Smoke coiled from charred thatch roofs. England trembled. He was called Christian the Fari, and for good reason. At 45 he was more myth than man, thick as an ox, with weathered skin like boiled leather and eyes grey as North Sea fog. His arms were tattooed with runes, scars crisscrossed his back like map lines, and his beard, long, braided, peppered with ash, whipped in the wind like a war banner. He had not come for gold, not anymore. He had come for something older, a feeling, a fight, a fire. He roamed the broken roads of Wessex and Mercia, where the woods whispered of old gods and dying kings. His great axe, Rota, named for the Valkyrie of slaughter, rarely stayed sheathed for long. Saxon warbands hunted him. Monks cursed him. Peasants told tales of him by candlelight, claiming he could not be killed. But Christian wasn't here to conquer, not now. He was a man seeking the ghost of his younger self, a berserker who once stood atop Lindisfarne's altar, bellowing Odin's name in blood. Now he hunted relics, dreams, maybe redemption, or maybe just a glorious death. In the fog-bound marshes of East Anglia, he slaughtered 10 men who ambushed him in silence. In the ruins of a Roman fort, he spent the night with wolves, sharing raw meat beneath the stars. He did not speak often, but when he did, his words were carved, not spoken. "Only the wind and the blade are honest," he once told a dying thane. Then he gave him mercy. Children left offerings for him, carved boats, iron nails, bits of bone. They said Christian was the last of the true Vikings, a ghost walking a land he once tried to burn, now trying to understand. Chapter 2. The Boy with the Blue Eyes. He found the boy at the edge of a sacked village, half buried in soot and sorrow. Maybe 12 winters old, pale, silent, clutching a broken spear and a gaze that did not flinch. Christian stood over him like a thundercloud, expecting tears, perhaps a plea. But the boy only asked one thing. "Did you kill them?" Christian shook his head. "Not this time." "Then help me do it." The boy's name was Edron, a Saxon. His family lay in the ashes. Christian. The Fari should have walked on. He had no patience for baggage, no time for vengeance, not his own. But something in the boy, in that quiet fury, that hollowed fire, reminded him of another child long buried by war. So he let him follow. Edron never asked questions. He studied. He listened. He trained with stones and sticks until Christian handed him steel. When he fell, he rose without sound. He did not weep. In time, the boy learned to move like a shadow behind the great Northmen, and though they rarely spoke, something unspoken grew between them, not softness, but something near to purpose. They traveled west, toward the borderlands where warlords ruled with iron and priests turned men into zealots. Christian the Fari taught Edron how to read the tracks, how to kill quickly, how to burn what must not be followed. One evening, as the sun sank into the mudflats, Edron asked, "Why did you let me come with you?" Christian looked at the boy and said, "Because a wolf without a pack still needs to teach someone how to howl." And they walked on, 2 ghosts in a land that feared them both. Chapter 3. The Knife Behind the Fire. They came to the village of Harnwick, nestled between moor and marsh, a place where coin passed quicker than prayers. Christian knew the tavern keeper, a Dane named Ulfgar with 1 eye and a dozen debts. They stayed 3 nights. On the 4th, Christian woke to silence. No crows, no dogs, no Edron. His axe was gone. He found Edron outside the tavern, standing between a company of mounted men, mercenaries, hard-eyed Saxons in boiled leather and rusted mail. Their leader was a thin man with a bishop's ring on his finger and blood on his boots. "Christian the Fari," said, "you're a long way from the north." Edrun wouldn't meet his eyes. Betrayal doesn't roar, it whispers. Ulfgar had sold him out. The boy had opened the door. Christian stood still, breathing slow, staring at the boy like he was measuring the weight of something. The bishop's man sneered. "You're finished, Northman." Christian smiled, not cruelly, but like a man remembering a dream long faded. "Finished?" he said. "I've only just begun." Then the axe was in his hand. Rota, found leaning against the tavern's back wall, like she knew he'd need her. What followed wasn't a fight, it was a reckoning. When the blood cleared, only 2 souls remained. Christian, breathing like thunder, and Edrun kneeling in the mud, hands trembling. "I had to," the boy whispered. "They said they'd give me the names, the ones who killed my kin." Christian looked down at him, his face unreadable. "You chose a shadow over the flame." Then he turned and walked away. But the boy followed. Chapter 4. The Hound of the Cross. Word of the slaughter in Harnwick spread like rot through the marshlands, and with it a name, Bishop Aldhelm. Once a monk of silence, Aldhelm had become something else entirely, a holy terror clad in white and red, wielding scripture like steel. He called himself the Hand of God, but others whispered darker titles. The Chainbreaker, the Scourge of Heathens, the Flamebinder. He had seen visions, or so the stories went, of wolves howling in the smoke, of a northern ghost cloaked in ash, of a boy, sword in hand, staring at a cross burning upside down. Aldhelm believed it was prophecy, and so he hunted it. He gathered knights, fanatics, zealots and penitents, not soldiers, believers, men who would die for a word if it meant damnation for another. He marched from abbey to outpost, burning shrines and crucifying those who bore the rune. Christian's name was etched into his sermons. Edrun's face haunted his prayers. They became his obsession, not merely enemies, but signs, symbols of an age Aldhelm had sworn to end, and now he rode west, toward the borderlands, toward them. Chapter 5. Among Wolves. Once more Christian knew the paths west, where the hills grew wilder and the winds colder. It was the land of outlaws and old gods, where the cross had not yet claimed every stone. He did not speak of it to Edrun, but the boy sensed his purpose. On the 7th night of their flight, they reached the cliffs above Scarfell, a hidden stead nestled between forest and sea. It was a place Christian had not seen in over 10 winters, a stronghold once ruled by the war queen Ingrid the Scar-marked, his blood-sister by oath and blade. The gates were thick timber, iron-bound. The guards wore wolf pelts and bore axes with Norse sigils. They raised their weapons at first, until they saw Christian's face. "Open your gates," he growled, "or let me die outside them." The doors creaked open. Ingrid met him in the great hall, cloaked in fur, hair streaked with silver, her one good eye burning with cold fire. She embraced him like a brother and slapped him like a traitor. "You come hunted," she said. "Always," Christian answered. She turned to Edrun. "And the boy?" "My shadow, my mistake, my ward." Ingrid stared long at the boy. "He smells like ash and church bells. He'll smell of blood soon enough." And so they stayed. For weeks, Scarfell sheltered them. Idrun trained under Ingrid's shield maidens, learning the ways of war not as revenge, but as ritual. Christian sparred with old brothers, drank mead beside the hearth, and sat long into the night staring into flames. But peace is a story told by fools. A rider came from the eastern road, burned and half dead. "They're coming," he rasped. "The White Bishop and his zealots, hundreds, banners with thorns, crosses made of bone." Ingrid looked to Christian. "You've brought fire to my doorstep." Christian rose, axe in hand. "Then let me meet it on yours." and in the shadow of Scarfell's cliffs, the last true Northmen began to gather. If you want to hear more about Christian the Fari, like and subscribe.